Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And it's me once again. Yes, it's Charles Matthews and the Charles Matthews Morning Show. Good morning. And I got a special treat for you today. That's right. It is a Thursday, and you know I do my special. It's called My Brothers. What I'm trying to do is find 100 black men around the world and just talk to them. You know, we always say, don't judge a book by its cover. And what's happening in the world right now, we need to find men just to talk. Just so you can understand what we go through, how we are, maybe, you know, find some tricks that we never knew about each other. So today, I want to introduce my next guest, but I want him to do it because when you hear where this next gentleman is coming from, you're going to be amazed. So special guest, are you there?
I am. Hi, Charles. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. Please introduce yourself.
Sure, my name's Diran George. I'm from the UK, as Charles has rightly said. I live just outside of London. I'm married with a couple of kids. And yeah, I'm speaking to you from about 5,000 miles away. So it's nice to be on the show and nice to talk to you as well, Charles.
Well, let's give him a big round of applause, everybody. All right. Listen, I just want everybody to hear the accent. You know what I mean? That I'm not faking it. You know, I'm not putting no, reverb on your voice or nothing. So I just wanted to make sure everybody can hear that this is all the way from the UK. So right now it's 11 o'clock here. What time is it over there?
Yeah, it's just gone 4 o'clock. So yeah, we're now about 3 hours ahead now. So yeah, not too shabby.
All right.
5 hours, actually.
All right. So let's just get into it. Let's have some fun, my friend. So I see here, like I always ask these questions, and I'm going to start from backwards up because I want to hear why you put this down. I asked you, what's your favorite superhero? And you put Superman. Why Superman? No, sorry. You put Spiderman.
Yeah, I put Spiderman. Spiderman to me is one of the more, human superheroes. You know, he's still a kid at heart. You know, kind of geeky, a little bit like myself. You know, I'm maybe not as smart as him, but I like my tech. I like my kind of technology and keeping up with latest trends. And you know, he's just very, very cool. A lot of people either love him or hate him. I guess it's a little bit like me as well. You know, I can't say everybody loves me, but one thing I know is that, you know, with Spider-Man, he always tries to do the right thing. Again, that's something that I always try and do as well.
So I hear that you really put a lot of thought in that because every little thing you said, I could hear it in your voice. So you say you try to do the right thing and people know that. So are you always that guy that, you know, you see that quarter on that money on the floor, and then when you see a homeless person, you drop it into the cup?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's something that I think is important. You know, the way I see it in life, when you're doing well, you have to give back, and you know, you have to make sure that you give to people. When you give to people, then things happen really, really well for you as well. So, and it's not just about giving; it's, you know, making sure you help out where you can. If it's family, it's friends. It's, you know, you can't do everything. You know, I guess most of us don't have superpowers like Spider-Man, but I guess if we could, it might be a lot easier. But it's just important to stay on top of your real kind of your morals and make sure, you know, you're heading towards your North Star, which is effectively how you guide yourself through life.
So was that something that you were brought up on? Like, is that it was instilled by your parents, a family member? Like, where did you get that instilled from?
Yeah, so I guess to give you a bit of background, so my parents are from Nigeria, you know, so even though I've been living in England all my life, I still consider myself as like a British Nigerian. And my parents, I'm sure very, very much like some of your guests who've been on here, like especially from black families, you know, and African families, my parents are super, super religious. And so we were raised with a very strict moral compass, I'd say that much. You know, over time, you know, obviously as life's progressed, things have changed slightly. You know, we're starting to ease up a little bit more. But, you know, my parents' influences always still been with me. You know, I'm maybe not of the same disposition as they are, but, you know, I always try and do the right thing. You know, I look after my kids right and make sure they grow up, you know, knowing what it's like to be respectful and to treat others with kindness. And you know, just those things, I wouldn't have had those probably if not for my parents, you know. And it's really, really important to make sure that you know what what you're effectively heading for in your life.
So was this a 2-hour church or 4-hour church?
I think I was quite lucky in that respect. Our church is only an hour and a half every Sunday, but yeah, sometimes when especially we're there for the parties afterwards. I was like a 10-year-old boy, obviously growing up, and going to church a lot, but I just wanted to go home. But yeah, I never had the chance to.
So let me ask you this then. You said Nigerian, English.
Yes, that's correct.
Nigerian, English, and black. How's that combination how's that combination in the UK right now?
You know what? I wouldn't say it's uncommon. There's a lot of Nigerians over here from Nigeria, and believe me, I can attest to that. It's like a second home for us, I guess. If I compare myself to some of my Nigerian friends, I'm probably more on the British side, especially when you hear my accent. I have had like people mock me for it over the years, which is quite funny. But over in the UK, I guess if you look at things that's been going on like worldwide, I guess it's a tricky situation because for us it's never been as I guess like an iron focus as much as it has been in other countries. I'm specifically talking about the United States, but we still have our share of I'd say people who have felt hard done by the system. I'm very, very fortunate myself. I can't really complain about anything. Although when I look at what happens, to people of color and minorities, throughout the world, it's distressing. I guess that's the only way to put it. But myself, I'm speaking from a very fortunate position.
Yeah.
I've always been lucky that my parents have given me everything I've needed. I've never really faced too much adversity. Of course, being anyone of color, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s in UK, of course you're going to get like people looking on, some snide remarks here and there. But honestly, that's something that's never really bothered me because I know 99% of the people I meet are genuinely true about friendship, and they don't look really at like things like color and religion, and so it's important to really just keep surrounding yourself with people like that, and it makes such a difference.
Well, it says here that you have 2 kids. Is it a boy?
That's correct, yeah.
Boy and a girl, 2 girls. What do you have?
I've got 2 boys. One is about to turn 3 next month. Another is going to be 1 in August. And and actually, just speaking about them, they're both mixed race. So my wife is from Lithuania. I'm not sure if anyone on the podcast actually knows what that is, but it's a Baltic country in Europe. I'd say it's very kind of close to Denmarkish way, and kind of the kind of Scandinavian countries. And so my wife's from there. Both my kids, obviously both from that kind of background. So they're half Nigerian, half Lithuanian kids. It's something that's not a very common mix, I'd say. Mm-hmm. But they're celebrated for their multiculturalism, and everyone basically stops and stares, and they're like, "Oh my God, your kids are beautiful."
They got the mix. They got the mix, and then in this culture, do we consider the mix a norm now or something different?
Yeah, that's an important question. I guess in my eyes, I've always thought it was going to be the norm, even though while it's still happening now, it's still kind of a period of maybe adjustment, I'd say, for the masses. Although it's not uncommon, there's no real issues. I guess people are kind of marrying interracially and having children who are mixed race, and there's no real kind of like a stigma around it. It's becoming the norm, especially in Europe and definitely in the UK. It's been multicultural since probably the 50s and 60s. And it's always been very, very easy to integrate in the UK. Not everywhere, of course not. I know, again, people who have certain issues based on where they live, but yeah, throughout the country, it's just very, very acceptable.
Yeah, because for us, as people here in Toronto, Canada, when you watch like YouTube videos and you see somebody from the UK and they're posting videos and you're like, and you see them marching and screaming and you know, you're like, wait a minute. We don't see you guys that way. You know what I mean? We see you guys as, you know, what time is it? 4:00? Did you have your tea yet? You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're thinking.
Obviously, that's definitely a stereotype that still exists. I guess it goes every way, you know, in terms of the Brits looking at, you know, like Canadians or Americans or Brazilians or the French or the Germans. It's every nation has their own stereotype about every other nation. That's for sure. For example, I mean, I'd say if you ask anybody here from the UK what describes a typical Canadian, they say, you know, they're like the Americans, just less brash and nicer. It's it's something that I can't really subscribe to. I've got a lot of American friends, you know, and some Canadian friends as well. I don't know that many to be honest. But my dad used to live in Ottawa for about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And so yeah, you know, I've got friends in all places. It's very difficult for me to kind of have that sort of stereotype of how people are, because I guess I've experienced friendship with people from different nations and different backgrounds.
Okay, so what I love about reading your bios, like when I send these things out, there's a part that made me chuckle and laugh, and I had to read it more than once. It says a voice fit for audio. Apparently my face wasn't enough for videos. So you got the voice, but not the face. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, it's something I've always cracked a joke about. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I've done actually a lot of voiceovers, a lot of kind of read-throughs on audio, especially like I said when I was a kid. And it's very funny because everyone's like, "Oh gosh, you've got like a really, really good voice. You should do like a radio show or something like that." I'm like, "Oh, thanks. You know, does that mean that I'm too ugly for video or TV?" You know, people just laugh when I say that. So, I mean, of course, I don't think that's the case. You know, I'm sure nobody else does. You know, maybe some people might take the mick for me, you know, out of me for it. But I always just leave with that joke because it's been kind of ongoing for a long, long time, since I was about 8 years old, really.
So, what's it with the voice? What about the voice? When did you start singing? What is?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I guess. People have commented a lot about my voice sounds quite soothing.
Okay.
Like I could be, I don't know, like a psychiatrist or something like that, which is quite funny. But, you know, I guess it's just comes with the territory, you know. I guess it's been kind of grown up from where I am, you know, where I've been, you know, growing up in the UK, but I've also lived in lots of places as well. You know, my dad was a diplomat for Nigeria, and so we lived in places like Portugal and Switzerland, and, you know, here for a little bit. And so, yeah, we've kind of been around. Like I said, he lived in Ottawa for 4 years, I think. So, yeah, we've been around. I've soaked up a lot of cultures, and I don't know, maybe subconsciously I've extracted the best pieces of what I've learned and translated that to my voice.
Oh, hold on. So he was a diplomat.
Yeah. My dad served for Nigerian High Council for a good few years, I'd say, more than a good few years. He's now retired, but it was probably about 40 years of service he did.
Oh, okay. So now I got to dive into this now. So what did you learn growing up? Like this is the stuff that, you know, other kids dream about. You're going from different countries, learning different places. This must have really curved you as a young man to who the man you are today, learning all these things.
Yeah, I definitely attribute the way I am now to obviously the kind of background and situation that I've had. You know, I wouldn't say it's been kind of a walk in the park. You know, I mean, especially not for my dad. You know, my dad definitely had to overcome adversity, even in Nigeria, being Nigerian, just because he might not have come from the right city or the right state. You know, he had to overcome adversity to actually get to the position that, you know, he wanted. It's really quite fascinating. I read his book a while ago, and he's talking about how when he was being interviewed for these types of positions, you know, people would just gloss over him because they didn't think he was made of anything because of, you know, where he came from. You know, his family might not have come from, let's say like middle class family. It's more like a working class rural family. And, people were very, very dismissive. And this is a Nigerian man in Nigeria. So you can imagine what would have been like, for others in his position, or even moving to different countries. He's definitely had a very colorful life. And so taken from that, his own, I'd say, moral compass, his own experiences, I've definitely made my own kind of story about like how I want to go with myself in life and my family. And so, over time, don't get me wrong, there's definitely been some amazing experiences. Like when I said I lived in Portugal, I was probably one of the happiest as a child I've ever been in Portugal. I had some amazing friends. Portugal is beautiful. They have awesome weather. And just growing up there was fantastic. But, I've lived in other places. Like I said, here, I've lived in Nigeria, lived in Switzerland as a kid. Just picking up lots of different stuff. So it's been a varied experience, but it's been absolutely the pinnacle of shaping me to where I am today, I'd say.
That's beautiful, because a lot of people won't even experience that. So do you want to, knowing all the places do you want to bring your children there so they can experience these things? Like, how do you want to show them the different world, the different culture we live in?
Oh, absolutely. My plan is to go back to Nigeria as soon as possible because my parents still live there. With both my kids, I definitely will get them to experience what it's like, living in different places, and travel. I guess my oldest son is very, very fortunate, even though he won't remember it. But I guess in the last couple of years, we have been to about 8 different countries.
Wow.
And so he's been around, but like I said, I don't know if he's going to remember it so much. But now we've got the second one, things need to kind of calm down a little bit, at least for the first few years, just so we can, get back to like a general routine, and then maybe we can start kind of building up some time and again some finances. Obviously, that's the most important thing. And then, I definitely want to take my children traveling properly around the world, not just obviously, hometowns or home countries like Nigeria, which, like I said, where my parents live. But, actually they've been to Lithuania as well, where my wife's from. We want to take them places. I'm really hoping actually we'll go back to Asia and, go to travel to Japan and places like that. So, but like I said, it's going to take time. It's just going to take some time to build up the time and the finances.
So why did you say here that it's a new awakening? It says here in the last 3 years, you feel like you've started a new life, like a new you in the last 3 years. Why did you say that?
Yeah. So it's really, really interesting, actually. I guess over the last few years, I knew what the kind of things I wanted to do. Like, for example, I knew I wanted to have a family and make sure that, I raise them right, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess over the last few years, for me, what's really happened is I've learned a lot more about the world itself rather than just me. It sounds kind of, I don't know what the term would be, maybe a little bit like a closed view, but I guess I've kind of been a little bit selfish with myself, not really looking at what's really going on else in the world. I'm not talking about, just kind of being nice to people and stuff like that, but really realizing what happens with business and politics and economics and your finances and all of these things which really affect how you go by day, but maybe I wasn't necessarily focused on those. And so over the last few years, I really started learning a little bit more about the world itself and like how things run and learning about how people are just generally. And so it's kind of given me a new focus in terms of where I want to go. Like I said, I've always known I've wanted to raise a family, but the priority for me now is making sure that I give my family everything that I've never had, and that's for example, when I'm gone, that there's a legacy for them that's not just financial. It's going to be teaching them about education and for example, how do you go about, do you want to go to university? Do you want to go to college? All these different options, which I guess I didn't really second guess when I was growing up. I just thought they happened. But I realized actually there's a lot more options than than I think people realize that they are in all of these areas.
Is that because is it because after you had your kids, you were like, whoa, this is a new world now. I got to make sure that they understand everything. I understand everything, just so they are safe and they can move forward.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that's probably the most part of it, because for me, if I imagine, for example, one of the things, it's kind of bleak to think about it, but I imagine myself like, what would happen if I wasn't around tomorrow? What would happen with my family, especially like my direct family, my kids and my wife, and that's something that kind of drives me towards this acting out or trying to fulfill this purpose where I'm leaving a lasting legacy for my children. It's not just, like I said, it's not just financial, trying to make sure that, they have everything that, they need, but actually teaching them about, what happens when you go to school and you meet new kids, for example, and what happens if one of the kids is maybe not getting on with you? Do you just act out and, maybe become a little bit aggressive? No, that's not the way it should be. I guess no one's really sat down and talked to me about all this stuff, but you kind of form your own opinions. I guess over time I've learned from my parents, just be nice, be kind.
Right.
But, that's not the only story, it's not the only thing that's there. If somebody, for example, like, it's something I've experienced as well when I was a kid. But if you have someone who is actively trying to target you,
mm-hmm.
Do you just sit back and be nice with them? No, of course not. You have to kind of fight back, and not necessarily physically,
mm-hmm.
but you can start to become a little bit more creative and clever in terms of how you deal with that person. And these are things, like I said, that you typically don't learn. It's something that I believe I've learned over time, like how to manage people.
Right.
And so I'm not just going to be one of those parents that, just lets the kids get on with it all the time. Of course, they need to go and experience their own life and make their own mistakes, but there's certain things that I really need to make sure my children learn,
mm-hmm.
So that they have, I believe they'll have a much better quality of life much faster than I did.
So then put it this way. What do you do right now? What is your 9 to 5?
Yeah, sure. My 9 to 5 is I'm a sales engineer, so I'm not sure if you know what that is, but effectively, let's say you're part of a sales team. We sell SaaS, so software as a service, typically for marketers. And my role is to demonstrate the value of the platform, the technology. So I'm like a salesperson, but I don't have the quotas of a salesperson. What I literally do is I will go to a client, whether they're technical or marketer-led, or maybe even a CMO or a kind of exec-level person, and try and explain what the benefits are of using the platform, and how, for example, they can make more money or reduce cost or reduce risk when they're using the solution, as well as how to get more engagement from their customer base. So that's typically what I do. I'll just build demos and build solutions and make sure that they understand how it will impact their business.
So let me ask you a question. So everything we just talked about learning people, if people, are coming to you at a different way and learning the stuff you learn, do you find yourself using all those techniques in your 9 to 5 job right now?
Definitely. It's really important to learn how to read the room, because don't get me wrong, I've worked with people who are absolutely fantastic at what they do in terms of like sales, and obviously owning the relationship, building the rapport with the customer. But I've also worked with a lot of people who just weren't, I think you understand what I mean, right? They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And so they come in and start spurting information about themselves. They're just talking about themselves, or talking about, our company. They don't really give a damn about the customer themselves. And it's like, wow, way to go read the room, Now you've alienated everybody else in this meeting. And it's happened a couple of times, and not just to myself, learning from some of my colleagues, where the people in my role, because when we start talking, we start talking about, okay, right, let's understand what it is you're trying to do as a business. And, if somebody who has literally just alienated the room, it's happened before where, the salesperson has been asked to leave the room, and, we've been asked to stay just to talk about, exactly how to move forward. The trust has completely been destroyed with other people. Like I said, that's typically not the case. Most people I work with now, they're absolutely fantastic. But I'd say probably in the last few years, that's happened at least once or twice to me.
So then here's my question. What is the hidden talent? Like something, okay, you go into this meeting, right? Yeah. You have to re-energize the customer. What is the hidden talent that what's the hidden talent you would pull out just to get them to sign the paper? Do you do magic tricks? Do you sing? Is that when the voice comes out? What do you do? What is your hidden talent that you would say?
Honestly, for me, I find just humanizing the element of what you're doing. Like, so it's a process at the end of the day that the customer is going through, right? And sometimes it's long, it's drawn out, it's tedious, it's repetitive. But if you just humanize it, you can inject a bit of humor, just make sure that you understand where they're coming from. And like, look, I know you guys, for example, I've had a couple of meetings over the last couple of days, and in different industries. Like, one was a subscription pet food provider. One's been a financial services provider. And you're trying to build rapport with all the people in the room, because you've got technical people, you've got marketers there, and they all have their own, I guess, their different aims and their own different goals. As long as you can really hone in on what those are, then you don't really need a special talent. Just really speak to it and say, look, we understand this is not like a typical experience that you're trying to go through, but we can make this a lot more pain-free, by showing you exactly how, for example, you can save time, and by doing all of these tasks automatically, you can save probably 10% of your workforce time, and then making you free to be more strategic. Just doing things like that, where especially you can help the business. If you can't, then don't try. We'll see it. If you can't help them, don't try. But if you can, just humanize it and say, look, what does it mean for them? And then that's when you get the best response. But for me, outside of that, I do like injecting a little bit of humor. I talk about, for example, characters that I build into my demos, or people that they've mentioned who sound like, for example, a dog that I once owned, something like that. So this actually happened, right? And it just shows that you're human. You're not trying to be salesy.
Right.
You're trying to solve their problem.
So what I'm getting from you from this whole interview is that a lot of your life, I see that you're seeing the good in people. You've traveled all over. Everything to you that you've been talking about is the human body, the human spirit, the human element of your life, and meeting people and talking to people. And I can tell that for you, it's the trips that you took around the world with your dad really brought the knowing people part of your aspect into your life.
Yeah, I definitely concur with that. It's been a massive part of my life, and it's not just myself. I've got two older brothers as well who are very, very similar to me. And I think without those experiences, of course, we'd probably still be around today. But would life be as open and maybe as constructive as it is? Who knows? All I can say is I'm very grateful for everything that's happened, good and bad, in my life, because right now I'm in a very, very good place. So, it's not something I would want to change, with what's happened. It's built character. It's made me confident. It's made me very approachable, but also very, I'd say, like I said, people oriented. I really do love people, even despite what's been happening with the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Not being able to spend time with friends and family over the last 4 months it's been definitely very odd. But you realize it's possible to do that sort of remote contact and minimal contact. We have video conference and it's and WhatsApp and all these different tools and technology which just make it much easier to connect with people very, very quickly.
All right, so let me get to know you real quick. Kids are gone.
Sure.
It's Saturday. Mm-hmm. You want to get romantic with your wife. What is your what is your go-to meal you're going to cook for her?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I would have to say, oh, God, good Lord. Romantic meal. You know, it probably have to be something Italian, maybe some penne pasta with lamb, some nice Chianti on the side. That'd be lovely.
Are you ordering in or you're cooking this?
Well, I could do both, you know. I've got skills.
So you can what you just said, you can throw that down in the kitchen? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, of course. If I put my mind to it, I will definitely do it. I don't even need to second guess myself.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna go with a pick 3. It's a fun game we have. It's a quick fire answers. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Beauty Club Outlet. Our goal is to have our clients leave Beauty Club Outlet's store more confident, comfortable, and psychologically liberated than before they came in. And this is the motivation for our entire customer experience and product offering at Beauty Club Outlet. Click the link below and use promo code CMJ for 15% off. Now back to Charles and his special guest.
Yes, we're back. All right, so we have this fun game called Pick 3. You pick 3 numbers, and out of those 3 questions, I pick the one that I want to ask you. So pick a number, pick 3 numbers between 1 and 10, and then out of those 3, I get to pick one just for you.
Okay, right. I'll go with 3, 7, and 9.
3, 7, and 9. Let me look at number 3. Okay, let me look at 7 and 9. Okay, so here, I'm going to go with number 7. If you were in my shoes, what question would you have asked that I didn't ask you?
Okay, interesting. Maybe one that's it's kind of generic, but it really is. It's applicable to any situation, right? I guess one question I like to ask anyone or sort of any business, or you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? What will you be doing?
And the answer is
5 years' time. I'm hoping I'm definitely making plans for it, right? I will be in a boat somewhere, you know, maybe with my wife and my kids, maybe traveling to Southern Europe. That would be quite nice. We both have our own businesses, because that's what we're working towards now. And let's see, what else? I'd like a bigger house. I would really like a big house.
You want to have the big... That's our dream, buddy. That's our dream. Well, my friend, it's been a pleasure and an honor for you to be. Thank you so much, all the way from the UK, to be on my show. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. But before we let you go, this is your opportunity to shout out any of your family and friends that might be listening. This is your opportunity to do the shout out.
Oh, awesome. In that case, I'd like to give a shout out to my mum and dad, probably not listening, but my brothers up in the north of England, my sisters-in-law, my friends from school, my friends from uni, my friends from work as well. So shout out to everyone. You know, I'm thinking of you. Hope you're all doing well.
All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being on the show.
Really appreciate it, Charles. Nice to meet you as well.
You too, my friend. Now, listen, everybody. It's all about unique. It's all about finding out people from around the world. And this is what I want to do, is bring you brothers. You can talk to them and listen to what they're feeling and how they are from around the world. When you look in the description, you'll see his contact, his information, and just to get to know each other, because we can help each other out just being one brother to another. As I always say, you didn't have to listen, but you did. I appreciate it. You be blessed. We'll see you next time.
Has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain professional legal and medical services.